Looks like a 4chan. Conspiracies. Let's go. Let's go. And Fuel. He's the one to go to. A month ago. This is what I call entertainment. Rumors and speculative concerns. This is birth
Reports
trauma.
of alien abductions are incredibly common. There are countless accounts of individuals suddenly being taken from their homes and transported into the unfamiliar, often sterile environment of a spacecraft. There, they describe tall, extraterrestrial beings standing over them as they lie strapped to an examination table. Some recount undergoing bizarre procedures or experiments, while others simply report being
My dreams, because I don't think they were real experiences. Who knows? But my dreams of being like involving aliens and shit. When I see the UFOs, a lot of times in these dreams, they're dead silent, super quiet, and they just fly overhead. And I've had dreams for being inside of a UFO, but this feels like a memory because in the dream, I'm a kid. I'm like a child. I'm like small. I think like a child. I feel like a child. And I just remember in front of me, it looked like a playground. First of all, the entire building inside she was weird as fuck. It was like all white and sterile. In front of me were like giant tubes, like McDonald's playground. Just giant plastic tubes like that, like a hamster, all white and sterile. And I just remember climbing up it and then climbing up all the way to the top. It was like 2 stories high. It was pretty big inside. I can't describe it. It was like weird as hell inside. Like it was just like futuristic, sterile, round, white paneling. Everything was just white, right? So I get to the top of the tube, and there's two ends of it, right? Two ends, and it goes down like that. So I'm in the middle of those two ends, and I'm getting to one end, and out of nowhere, an alien head pops up. It was a gray alien, typical big eyes, round head, like gray dark skin though, like pencil gray. But then it had like a big mouth. It was like big ass smile and like two fangs. I recall like two fangs and the rest small tiny teeth, but sharp teeth. But I just recall those two fangs, like a vampire. And that shit was it scared the hell out of me. I just remember turning around and running or crawling fast as fuck towards the other end. And then another head popped up and did the same thing. And I just remember I was going back and forth, and then finally, I just remember running out of the tube and shit. That's my only account of seeing an alien in a dream. I don't think I've had other alien dreams like that. I had a lot of UFO in my dreams, especially around my house and everything. Super silent and quiet, typical round, lights on the bottom, but really quiet. Like everything's dead quiet too. Like no crickets, nothing, just dead quiet. Um, never experienced. One thing I've seen, I think I saw a UFO once. It was at night. We have a lot of fires, right, in Southern California. But there was one going on in my city nearby. And like these hills we have, these famous hills, like in the cities, right? And they were on fire. And then I remember I was by my house on this other hill across from it, and we were just climbing up. You know, we were kicking it, smoking and everything. And then we stopped to look at the fires because there's helicopters dropping water on them. Now I know this is when I know like we didn't see a helicopter because I have comparison, live comparison in front of me, like of helicopters in the night, right, dropping water. And while we're just watching all that, like out of nowhere, something just darts in front of us, like as low as the hill in front of us too. So it was like super low to the ground. It was like eye level, like to us. Like it was crazy. Like right in front of me, like literally, it was in that eye level. That's how low it was. Like just under the hill where the fire was going on. Like just under the radar type of thing. It was crazy. And it was like black and it looked like a jet, like a crazy little black. I can't describe the shape, but it was just like a jet. Jet black, like little pod. Looked like a little pod racer or something. And it just went and it made a noise, like supersonic noise, like boom. And I was just like, yo, what the fuck? And my two friends were like just like staring ahead. And I was like, you guys see that? You guys see that? And they didn't respond to me. And I thought that was weird. They just acted like they didn't see anything. That shit was so crazy. I'm telling you. It was like super fast and it was gone out of here. Like I couldn't even see it leaving. Like that's how fast it was. It was across my vision. That was it. And it was gone. And I was like, yo, what the fuck?
Observed. A consistent element in nearly all of these accounts is an overwhelming sense of fear and helplessness. One theory proposes a psychological explanation for these archetypal abduction experiences.
From my experience and from what I've learned, at least in my dream, right? This is all a dream, by the way, so this is not a real experience, I want to say. But from what I've got from that dream of mine, was they feed on fear. Energy vampires, you've heard of that shit, right? Or adrenochrome. We can go into the adrenochrome because those are some of the conspiracies I've gone deep into. The whole Pizza Gate. You get into you get into reptilians, human farming, supplies for or just food supplies for demonic beings, pretty much. But the one thing of her just from what I got from my experience was they were scaring me on purpose. For whatever reason, they wanted me scared. And they wanted adrenaline. From what I've learned, from what I conclude, is they wanted me to have adrenaline in my blood for whatever experiments they were gonna do to me, right? And I heard the blood of young children, just young, the blood of any young creature has certain properties to it that are like antibodies. Like it's gonna have more stem cell type of deal, like natural stem cells and all that stuff. Like younger people have better immune systems, right? Blah 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 blah. You get into all that too, but just combine that with adrenaline too and everything. Ooh. And plus the Mayans, you get into ancient cultures and cannibalism, drinking the blood of a sacrifice victim. Usually these sacrifices are very scary. They're made to induce a lot of pain. aka a lot of adrenaline in the blood, so they could get high because it's a drug too. Like supposedly you get super duper high. Adrenochrome is what they call it, or it's just adrenaline. I don't know why they call it that. It's just straight up adrenaline, blood full of adrenaline, and you get supposedly super duper blasted off, like the best high ever, and you stay young supposedly. Like I've heard blood transfusions are very popular among rich people. Like they get the blood transfusions of like younger people. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Like you get the Red Cross, you get blood drives in high schools, junior highs. They get the blood of young children. I mean, it doesn't seem that nefarious. Just like I'm saying, there's a lot of like actual scientific facts behind all this. Just younger. Like I heard they did tests with rats. Like the blood of younger rats, they would infuse it to other older rats, and those older rats would have like the aging effects on it. But I don't know. Maybe the stories of vampires are aliens too. We look at the chupacabra, the blood sucking. Supposedly it's the conspiracy is it's an alien. Chupacabras, they're extraterrestrial. Especially like the description of it. It's like very extraterrestrial. Look it up, chupacabra. The very famous one. I know a lot of people like say it looks like a dog, but what tripped me out was like the original description of it. It was like very alien. Original description. It was this. It was very like alien like. I could believe this, something like this too, like reptilian like. Like it was very reptilian. But that supposedly drinks the blood of like animals, right? We've got cattle mutilations for aliens. We could stick to aliens as well. Cattle mutilations. A lot of times blood. There's lack of blood, or like a lot of blood, right? The blood is all drained and missing, supposedly taken. So that's a lot. That's strange. That's very strange.
What if they are not
Like they're very obsessed with blood, from what it seems like. And a lot of times from those animal mutilations, their blood's gone, the tongues are gone, the eyes are gone. Maybe some certain internal organs I want to say are gone. I think the sexual organs are gone too a lot of times. Mainly the blood.
found
They've
memories
the strange thing is a lot about those is there's lack of blood.
of actual alien encounters, but rather distorted recollections of the individual's birth? Birth can arguably be considered
And you would also expect like something to be killed, right? In the middle of a field, killed. You would expect to be a lot of blood, gore. These mutilations, there's like nothing. Oh, I forgot my tie. I knew I was missing something. I think a lot of those vampire stories could be alien in origin, for all we know. A lot of these stories of like mythological monsters, cryptids, could be the blame for aliens. The mutilations, cattle mutilations, people mistaking it for werewolves or vampires, or some other stuff. Extraterrestrials, It didn't start showing up now. No, there's something that's real. There's something that they've always come. There's old paintings supposedly of like UFOs and all that stuff. Um, there's one painting of the Virgin Mary or something. It's like a religious painting, and there's like weird objects in the background.
The first traumatic experience of a person's life, the infant is abruptly thrust from the comfort and safety of the womb into the strange, unfamiliar, and overwhelming world outside. Striking parallels can be drawn between this event and the typical abduction narrative. Newborns are enveloped in bright white light after emerging from darkness, similar to how abductees report a beam of bright white light carrying them to the spacecraft. They
Huh?
are then placed on a table, surrounded by the masked figures of doctors and nurses. These figures then examine them, performing minor procedures like cutting the umbilical cord, while also poking and prodding in unfamiliar ways. Over time, this primal memory, buried deep in the subconscious, may become distorted.
Oh, I kind of understand now. So he's saying this is a theory that alien abductions could just be counted off as birth trauma or remembering your birth. Since you're a baby, you don't understand what's going on. You take it as being like abducted. I can see that. What the fuck? That's a cool theory.
Standing over them as they lie strapped from their homes and transported into the unfamiliar. Civilian abductions are incredibly common.
What the
There are
hell?
countless accounts of individuals similar to how abductees report a beam of bright white light carrying them to the spacecraft. They are then placed on a table, surrounded by the masked figures of doctors and nurses. These figures then examine them, performing minor procedures like cutting the umbilical cord, while also poking and prodding in unfamiliar ways. Over time, this primal memory, buried deep in the
I can see that.
subconscious,
I could
may
totally see
become
that.
distorted. The sterile delivery room may be reimagined as the interior of a spacecraft. The masked medical staff, with their large eyes and obscured features, may resemble the classic depiction of alien beings. The experience of helplessness and fear remains intact, but the context shifts. A variation of this theory suggests that individuals who report abduction experiences may have endured a particularly traumatic birth or suffered trauma shortly after being born. These early events could have been encoded subconsciously
Bruh.
and later resurfaced in adulthood, misinterpreted as alien abduction scenarios.
Jeez.
The concept of the deep state is nothing new. The idea of a secret society or organization controlling humans from the shadows.
Trauma from birth. I can't believe it. Can't believe it. Trauma from birth. Everyone just looking for trauma.
Like puppet masters has existed in conspiracy theory circles for ages. But this theory goes one step further, claiming that the control of humans by shadow governments is nothing new and has actually existed as far back as 30,000 years ago. According to the theory, during the Paleolithic era, as humans evolved into far more intelligent beings, demonstrating mastery of stone tools, creating art, and engaging in religious or spiritual rituals, a shadow government made up of the most knowledgeable individuals of the time began to emerge. Shamans, astronomers, and early specialists in their fields allegedly came together to form a primitive organization whose goal was to steer mankind from behind the scenes. This organization, or maybe even multiple interconnected groups, are said to have met in caves, using cave art and primitive symbols as their form of coded communication. They supposedly later designed and constructed ancient structures like Göbekli Tepe, aligning them with celestial events to track herd migrations and seasonal changes, helping guide early
Fuck.
societies. As they spread across continents, they allegedly passed down their knowledge in secret. Alleged proof of this theory lies on the identical symbols and markings found in caves all over the world, even in cultures that supposedly had no contact with one another. These include things like a series of handprints or hand stencils found in prehistoric caves. These handprints are unusual in that some are missing fingers or parts of fingers.
What the
This may
fuck?
be an evidence of ritual mutilation carried on by this specific group. They could also be a coded language, where sign language is used by folding away several fingers to create a pattern that can only be decoded by members of this organization. Other various patterns of scribbles, dots, and
True.
dashes are also theorized to be some kind of shorthand code. Some believe these markings are
Numbers. It could be we're just like dividing or like something like that. Half.
part of a universal symbolic language used by this ancient deep state to plot the future path of humankind. Another piece of evidence used to support this theory is how similar creation myths, such as the idea of a great flood, appear early on in many completely separate cultures. Alongside this are ritual practices like burials, funerals, and other ceremonial rites that seem to emerge globally around the same time. The theory suggests that these myths and traditions weren't just cultural developments, but were intentionally planted by the prehistoric elite to shape the beliefs and
Uh,
behaviors of early human societies.
it's
It's
a little
also
far
claimed that
fetched.
psychedelics like magic mushrooms were used during these rituals, often held in dark, echoing caves, lit only by flickering firelight. These settings were designed to overwhelm and awe early humans, swaying them emotionally and psychologically. According to the theory, this was one of the earliest forms of mass manipulation, a
Yeah, I
primitive
could
version
see
of
that.
propaganda and media
I could
control.
totally see that.
Some versions of the theory go further, suggesting that this elite group may have even engaged in selective breeding of humans, choosing which people should reproduce to create populations that were more compliant and easier to influence.
Uh,
At the same time, they are believed to have preserved their own bloodlines, securing control over future generations. It's also theorized that they may have had a direct role in developing agricultural and animal domestication, not as a random human discovery, but as a deliberate turning point in human development. In the end, the theory claims that humanity didn't reach this level of progress through random trial and error alone, but rather, we were guided toward it, step by this prehistoric deep state. Every major leap, from tool use to religion to civilization,
mm,
was part of a long term plan, and according to this belief, it
so
didn't
far
stop in
fetched,
the
buddy.
ancient world. The same group or their ideological descendants are thought to still control humanity today, using mass media, government systems, and global institutions to push society in whatever directions they see as most beneficial. Other variations of the theory exist as well. One version claims that when early Homo sapiens began to outcompete and wipe out other human species like Neanderthals, some Neanderthals, seeing their extinction coming,
Oh no. Ew. Obscure theories. I'm good on that. Truth about my Nah. Saturn's not a planet. I'm interested.
No one looks at Saturn by accident. Out there, at the edge of the solar system, beyond the planets you were taught to name in school, spins a colossal sphere shrouded in mist. And something else. An echo. A presence. What if Saturn isn't what we were told? What if it's not a planet, but a prison? A cosmic jail, carefully designed, not to imprison bodies, but to trap souls.
Alright.
For centuries, cultures across the world have pointed to the same place, the same symbol, the same god. Kronos, the devourer, the titan of time, the great judge of the dead. In occultism, in ancient religions, in secret lodges from Babylon to the present day, the pattern repeats. Saturn is
Huh.
tied to suffering, to judgment, and to the recycling of the human soul. This
Jeez.
isn't a modern theory. It's a secret that's been here all along, hidden in hermetic texts, in alchemical symbols, in religious architecture, in myths that survived the Inquisition of thought. And they all point to one thing: reincarnation is not a blessing. It's a sentence, a cycle with no end, a wheel that spins and spins,
That does
just
sound
like
like it
Saturn's
sucks.
rings. Today, you'll learn why the ancients feared Saturn, why it was cast down from the throne of the heavens, and how its influence right now might still be affecting your thoughts, your life, your soul. Saturn wasn't always seen as just a planet. Long before telescopes or space missions, ancient civilizations already feared it, revered it, and wove its presence into the darkest corners of their mythology. It wasn't a distant rock in the sky, it was a god, and not a kind one. To the Greeks, he was Kronos, the most feared of the Titans, a being who rose to power by overthrowing his own father, and then, consumed by fear, began swallowing each of his children the moment they were born. Not out of hatred, but because he knew the truth. Time devours everything, even itself. This ancient myth isn't simply a story, it's a coded truth. Kronos, or Saturn, represents something much more disturbing than a mythological king. He symbolizes repetition, imprisonment, the endless cycle of birth and death. In various esoteric traditions, Saturn is not a creator, it's the warden, the force that traps souls in karma, in samsara, in a reality that endlessly recycles itself while keeping you unaware of the trap. Which brings us to the obvious question: why Saturn? Why this planet and not another? The answer lies not just in mythology, but in observable reality. Saturn is the farthest planet visible to the naked eye, which made it the final celestial body known to the ancients. It was the boundary, the edge of the known cosmos. Cold, distant, slow, it takes nearly 30 years to complete one orbit. In astrology, it's the great teacher, but also the strict punisher. It governs structure, time, limitation, suffering, and consequences. It's not about growth, it's about paying your debt. But beyond the symbolic, Saturn is unique for another reason. At its North Pole, there exists a massive, perfectly geometric hexagon, a storm system unlike anything else found in the solar system. It remains
What?
stable, unchanging for decades, a six-sided vortex that corresponds eerily with sacred geometry and the shadow form of a cube. A cube that we'll see repeated over and over again in religious rituals, sacred architecture, even in the robes of judges and clerics. Saturn also emits sound, not metaphorically, literally. NASA has recorded strange radio waves emanating
the
from the
fuck?
planet, and when translated into audio,
That's weird as hell. That's where I think a lot of these gods went. When you get into the ancient religions, Egypt, Greece, they all just went to the stars. I mean, a lot of them did tell them they came from the stars. I wouldn't doubt if they went back to these planets and stars and whatever.
audible frequencies, they don't sound like natural space noise. They sound like a transmission, rhythmic, mechanical, almost intentional. In alchemy, Saturn is lead, the heaviest of the base metals.
Lead.
It represents the first stage of spiritual transformation, the nigredo, or blackening, the death of the old self before rebirth is possible. In Kabbalah, Saturn is linked to Bina, the realm of understanding, but also structure and restriction, the cosmic womb that both creates and contains. In Gnostic texts, Saturn echoes in the figure of the demiurge, a false creator who builds a flawed material world and traps the soul inside it. A prison disguised as reality. A system ruled not by freedom, but by repetition, decay, and forgetfulness. So why Saturn? Because nothing else fits the role so perfectly. Every aspect of it, its mythological history, astrological weight, physical structure, and symbolic presence, points to the same conclusion. Saturn doesn't merely represent the trap, it may be the trap, a wheel that spins without end, a cycle we're born into, die in,
I
and
need a new
return
chair.
to,
Shit.
without ever remembering how we got here. If Saturn represents structure, law, and judgment, it's no surprise that his shadow stretches across the most sacred traditions of human history. The figure we've been following, this devouring god, this cosmic warden, didn't vanish as civilizations evolved. He adapted. And over time, his influence became more subtle, more symbolic, but no less powerful. In Babylon, Saturn was worshipped in the form of Ninurta, a god of war, harvest, and discipline. Not a benevolent deity, but a strict enforcer of order. In ancient Egypt, his essence appeared in Osiris, not only as lord of the underworld, but as the final judge of the soul. And in Rome, Saturnus presided over a strange and unsettling celebration known as Saturnalia, a temporary suspension of the social order, where roles were reversed, slaves were treated as kings,
What the hell?
and chaos reigned. But beneath the surface, it was a controlled chaos.
That sounds like The Purge. The movie The Purge. Or just that's the concept.
Ritualized, scheduled, and always followed by the restoration of strict order. Even in its moments of madness, Saturn ruled.
The hell?
In 1656, a mystic monk in Florence claimed that during a ritual trance, he saw a black throne in the sky, a cube pulsing with voices. He believed it to be Saturn's seat of judgment.
What the hell?
For writing about this vision, his work was seized by the Inquisition, and he was never heard from again. But these were not isolated cults. Saturn's archetype didn't fade with the fall of empires. It migrated into the very heart of monotheistic religions. In Judaism, Saturn still governs the Sabbath.
I heard about
Shabbat,
that.
the seventh day. A day not of joy.
And in One Piece, one of the 5 elders is named Saturn, Saint Saturn. He spawns in through a pentagram. He looks Jewish. I think he is supposed to symbolize the Jewish. He has like the yarmulke, the beard, the locks.
But of cessation, a divine pause, observed with discipline and structure. It is the day of Saturn, the day of restriction, of holding back. In Islam, we see his geometry encoded in the Kaaba, a perfect black cube, the focal point of pilgrimage for millions. The faithful circle it again and again, mimicking the orbital motion that echoes Saturn's own rings.
Fuck.
And in Christianity, Saturn's signature appears in ritual garments, the black robes worn by judges, priests, and even scholars. A symbolic reflection of his dominion
True,
over
the white
law,
collar.
hierarchy, and tradition. Then there's the geometry. At Saturn's North Pole, astronomers discovered something that should not exist. A 6-sided storm, a hexagon,
Heard about
vast,
that.
stable, and strangely perfect. This isn't poetic metaphor, it's observable, measurable reality. That same hexagon, when flattened and mirrored, becomes the 6-pointed star, the hexagram, the Star of David, the Seal of Solomon. A powerful and ancient symbol used in esoteric traditions to bind, to contain.
This is when I think of Runes, Skyrim, a lot of other things, a lot of other Just in magic and alchemy in general.
To seal. Occultists refer to it as the Black Star, and when rendered in 3 dimensions, the hexagon transforms into a cube, the same shape as the Kaaba, the Philosopher's Stone, the alchemical prison of matter. In symbolic
The freaking Tesseract. The Tesseract.
systems, the cube is not just a container, it's a cage, an object that reflects stability, but also limitation, the perfection of form, and the loss of movement. Saturn, in this context, becomes more than a planet or a mythological figure. He becomes the silent architect of the physical world's laws. His symbolism shapes not only temples and rituals, but calendars and culture, even language. Saturday is his day, the final day of the week, the reset before the next cycle begins. But perhaps the most unsettling aspect of all this is how little of it we notice. The rituals continue, the symbols surround us, the archetype persists, but the awareness is gone. Saturn has become invisible by becoming normal. Saturn is not absent from our lives. He's everywhere, hidden in plain sight. If Saturn truly represents the boundary, the weight, the endless repetition of time, then we have to ask, what is it containing? What force is it holding in place from the distant edge of our solar system? According to many esoteric and Gnostic traditions, the answer is unsettlingly direct. It's holding us. Or more precisely, it's holding what we are once the body dies. In the Gnostic worldview, the material world isn't a divine gift. It's a carefully constructed trap. The physical universe wasn't made by a benevolent creator, but by a lesser force known as the demiurge, whose purpose is to keep human souls confined within a false reality. The soul in this vision is not evolving, it's imprisoned, recycled through endless lives, deceived into believing this is growth. And Saturn, within that cosmology, isn't just symbolic. He's the enforcer, the regulator, the machine that keeps everything spinning. What many traditions describe as reincarnation or spiritual evolution, Gnostics interpret as a kind of energetic harvesting system. Samsara, the wheel of rebirth, isn't a ladder to liberation. It's a treadmill. You live, you forget, you suffer, you die. And then it starts all over again.
Jeez.
Karma, rather than being a divine form of justice, becomes the mechanism used to justify this looping. The soul believes it deserves to return, and that's what makes the trap so effective. But some esoteric theories push this even further. They suggest that the afterlife experience itself.
Someone told me that they believe that whatever a person believes in, that's gonna happen. And it just made me realize manifestation, the power of thought. Stuff's real, guys. Should I give an example from my life? I can recall being sick before getting diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. I remember being on the couch being like, I just want surgery, just cut my stomach out or something. Lo and behold, months later, my colon got cut out and removed. And then I remember as a kid, I could recall too, 6th grade, my teacher, she said something, and I was like, I don't care. She says, never say that. She says, never say that. Don't ever say that. And I was like, what the hell? I didn't really know what they meant. I realize now, be careful what you ask for. Be careful. Words are powerful. You can hurt yourself, and you can also hurt others. Careful. Careful, guys.
The light at the end of the tunnel, the voices of loved ones, the sense of peace is not a path to heaven, but a simulation, a reset protocol. The soul, disoriented and vulnerable, is shown what it expects to see. It trusts, it complies, and it re-enters the cycle before even realizing it had a choice. And once again, Saturn appears, not as a passive rock in space, but as an active transmitter, a source of signal, a device. And this is where things cross the threshold from the mythic to the measurable.
Tiger spotted. Damn.
This is not a movie. This is your story. In 1980,
Is that where halos come from? An angel with the halo being an angel from Saturn? Or some shit like that?
NASA's Voyager
That's pretty
spacecraft
cool.
recorded something deeply strange about Saturn. A massive, perfectly shaped hexagon at
That's
its
a
north
trip.
pole, thousands of kilometers wide, rotating with almost supernatural precision.
It
No other planet
rotates?
has anything like it. A six-sided vortex, frozen in shape, persisting for decades. Scientists still don't understand how it formed or how it maintains such stability. But it's there, spinning silently like some kind of cosmic lock. And then there's the sound.
That's real?
Saturn emits radio waves, deep, oscillating pulses that can be picked up and translated into audio. What you hear is not the roar of cosmic wind, nor the static of empty space. It's something else, something structured, repetitive, mechanical. It
What
sounds
the
like
hell?
a signal, which raises a very serious question. Is Saturn broadcasting something? In occult traditions, sound is never just sound. It's a force. Frequencies are believed to influence the mind, affect emotions, even alter awareness.
We're made of atoms. You could break it down that way. We're vibrations. We're literal vibes. We're just balls of light. Energy. Sound is a form of energy.
Ancient chants, mantras, and harmonics were all built around this idea. And modern science, in its own way, is beginning to confirm it. We know that vibration can structure matter, that waves can influence brain activity. So what if this signal, the hum that pulses from Saturn, is part of the trap? Not just a sound, but a code, a frequency that locks the soul into a certain state, keeps the illusion running, makes sure we never ask too many questions. And when you add it all up, the symbol, the geometry, the sound, the myth, it starts to look less like coincidence and more like design. If Saturn is the core of this system, then time itself becomes a kind of fuel. Death and rebirth are not transitions, they're loops, and we are the ones being processed. Because Saturn doesn't just represent control. Saturn is control. He feeds on cycles, on memory, on repetition, and most of all, on time. We live our lives believing in choice, in
So I'm assuming Saturn likes addictions. Repetition. Just likes repetition. Probably the cause for OCD, all that stuff, huh?
purpose, in progress, when in reality, we may simply be moving along the path carved out for us by a system far older and far colder than we've ever imagined. By now, it's clear that Saturn's presence is not merely mythological, nor confined to the distant reaches of our solar system. It's systemic, symbolic, embedded not only in ancient rituals, but in the very architecture of our reality. And nowhere is this more apparent than in one of its most enduring and mysterious symbols, the black cube. The cube appears again and again throughout time, in the Kaaba at Mecca, circled endlessly by pilgrims, in Jewish tefillin strapped to the forehead during prayer,
Oh, for
in the
real?
robes of priests, judges, and scholars, the ritual black that marks authority and order. And in modern esoteric thought, the cube is Saturn's throne,
What the
his
hell?
geometric signature, a perfect container, 6 faces, boundaries on all sides. It represents stability, yes, but also confinement, structure, and stasis. The cube is the trap. And it's not just outside us, it mirrors the structure of belief itself, the mental box we're conditioned to live in, to think within, to never question. David Icker's theory expands this further. Saturn, he suggests, is not just a planet. It's the central transmitter in a vast energetic architecture. The moon receives the signal, and together they project a field, one that overlays our perception and manipulates the bandwidth of our awareness.
What the hell?
What we perceive as reality may be little more than an encoded illusion,
Just a mega
a
weapon?
vibration broadcast into the mind, interpreted by senses we never chose. The prison, in this view,
Could this be what keeps us from seeing ghosts, demons, angels, aliens, whatever they're called? This is the field. This is their force field.
isn't made of walls. It's made of signals, frequencies, agreements we never consciously made. And the cube, it's the perfect metaphor, a symbol of limitation hidden in plain sight. We move within it, pray toward it, even dream inside it, never realizing it was built to contain us. But here's the paradox Saturn cannot control. What cannot be measured cannot be confined. Awareness, true awareness, is dimensionless. It's not bound by geometry or language or even time. It is the raw presence that sees the trap and steps beyond it. This is what the ancients tried to teach, buried beneath layers of metaphor and myth. That liberation isn't granted, it's remembered. That the walls of the cube dissolve the moment you see them for what they are. Projections, mental architecture, belief systems mistaken for truth. The escape doesn't come from outside, it comes from within, from the collapse of illusion, from the moment you stop identifying with the echo and begin listening to the silence behind it. Because if Saturn is the architect of the cube, then awareness is the door. And the key? It's not hidden. It's the very thing you've carried all along. The ability to remember who you are, beyond name, beyond form, beyond fear. So when you see the black cube again, on a flag, in a temple, in your dreams, don't look away. Look through it. Because the cube is not just a prison. It's a question. And the answer has always been you.
Imagine being able
I never
to
came
build
across.
anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
Never came across a black cube in my dreams. I don't think so. Trying to think. I don't think I have.
After everything we've explored, myth, science, symbolism, religion, there's something that becomes hard to ignore. The idea that Saturn has always been more than just a planet. Not just out there in the sky, but present in the systems that shape our lives, our beliefs, and even our perception of reality. But the point of all this isn't to create fear or to build a new myth to replace the old ones. It's to recognize a pattern, one that's repeated across time, cultures, and traditions, and to ask the right questions about it. Because once you understand what Saturn represents, you begin to understand the system you were born into. And more importantly, that you don't have to stay asleep inside it.
Good video.
This is
That was an excellent video. Moon is soul harvesting machine. I heard that when I was really young. I don't want to click on it. But when I was super young, before YouTube started really restricting a lot of those videos, they weren't even like nothing bad. They were just really good and got into some really good shit. One of them, they got into reptilians and how And you got a new air conditioner or something. Fuck. But they got into how reptilians built the moon. The moon's hollow. It's a machine. And they say they use that to make a force field around Earth. So when we die, our souls stay trapped on Earth. This gets into the whole thing they were talking about. I remember this. Jeez, I wonder if he got it. This was an old ass video. This was over a decade ago. Watching this shit on YouTube. Nah, like a decade ago, like 10 years ago. Plus. Over a decade for sure. They got into the same shit. But this time it's the it's the moon. The reptilians use the moon to have a force field around the earth. And that you could say that's why the oceans are affected by the moon too and everything. Because of the force field. And that's how they kept our souls on earth. And that's where you get reincarnation and all this other shit from. It's just them recycling our souls. Infinite slaves is how they see it. Kind of fucked up. That was a good one. 17. And fuel. Let's mix it up a bit. Let's watch some other people so we can get the algorithm going. Rabbit holes, chilling scares. Nah. Kind of want to click on N Fuel. I've been messing with him a lot. The mysterious specter. No BS. It's 40 minutes. 4 transcripts. He's not real. Forbidden gods that even hell fears. 20 minutes. Occult Chronicles. Darkness. Addiction is a sign. The empty aliens. This is one guy I'm remembering now. Ayahuasca. No. Human fetus. Hell no. The hell.
On Days，超轻量、超弹力、耐戴更耐看。
In 2012, Thai police officers raided a hotel room in Bangkok and found 6 preserved human fetuses inside
Oh,
a
hell
luggage
no.
belonging to a man named Chow Hock Kun. But then the police officers noticed that the fetuses were wrapped in gold leaves. They asked Hock Kun why the fetuses were wrapped in golden leaves, and his reply shocked the officers. He had intended to sell the fetuses for up to $20,000 per fetus. But for what purpose? The fetuses were in preparation for
What
a
the
necromantic
fuck?
ritual to create a kumantong, a child spirit trapped in a doll. But what exactly is the purpose of a kumantong?
Carry around raw energy, human soul. That's insane. This is what the boo-boos are trying to achieve.
And how strong are their powers? But before we talk about the mysterious
I was just thinking. I mean, I heard stuff about the boo-boos. Yeah, they curse you or something like that. I've seen something like that. I didn't look into it. But seeing that comment, it just made me realize, like, even if you look in the if you're into the paranormal, you learn that like certain spirits, energies, rituals are attracted to certain activities, certain acts you do. Or like you know how like objects can be possessed. Let's say the knife used in a murder could be possessed or have a curse or energy, that's negative to it. Who's to say like your labubu, you carry it everywhere, you're doing drugs, you're partying, you may be doing something you're not supposed to do. Having sex, that energy gets transferred to labubu and becomes, a sex labubu, a murder labubu, a criminal labubu. That energy resonates with it, a drug labubu.
World of Kumantong and Thai child spirits. Let's talk about something equally thrilling instead. Shopping on YouTube with Shopee. Yay! Wow! You've probably spotted this food for good pet treats. 4-in-1 multi-purpose pan and these multi-purpose dumbbells as well.
Jeez.
But guess what? You can now grab these items directly. A new dog, these pet pen, these a bit more. So you can probably shop direct if you guys are, or it would $50 product. Extensive use of black magic, curses, hexes, and spells. Many locals count on these supernatural tools to aid them in their business, love life, and even wealth accumulation. It's so popular that this practice has spread to neighboring countries like Singapore and Taiwan because of how effective it is. I mean, I have quite a few friends who use Kumantong, and yeah, it is quite a popular thing here in Singapore.
What the fuck?
And the most popular of these supernatural tools is the Kumantong, or golden child, where the spirit of a stillborn child has been trapped in a statue, doll, or amulet, often by the
Dude, a lot of those antiquities you buy could have some shit like that.
necromantic practice of using a real dried fetus.
That's wild.
To non-believers, this may sound kooky, but thousands of people's believers, this may sound kooky.
That looks
a
crazy.
Statue, doll, or amulet, often by the necromantic practice of using a real
What the fuck?
dried fetus. To non-believers, this may sound kooky, but thousands of people swear by its powers. Many have reported an instant change in luck, wealth, and even hearing and seeing these child spirits after taking them.
Hell no.
But how did the Kumantong come into existence? To understand where Kumantong comes from, we have to travel back hundreds of years to a Thailand few tourists ever hear about. The practice of creating a Kumantong originates from the ancient city of Ayutthaya, which was founded in 1350, and for 400 years, it ruled much of what is Thailand today. Ayutthaya flourished as a major trading center and powerful kingdom, but deep within its temple walls, a darker current of magic was brewing, and this magic was known as Sayasat. Sayasat was a secret blend of Buddhism, Brahmanism, and spirit worship. It wasn't just a minor superstition, it was an elaborate system involving protective charms, curses, spirit invocations, and magical rituals performed by monks. Peter A. Jackson, a leading scholar of Thai religion, describes
Peter Jackson?
throughout Thailand's history, practices like Sayasat were used by everyone from warriors seeking battlefield protection to traders looking for prosperity charms. It was an accepted undercurrent of
Peter A. Jackson. Was it A? What the hell? It is him. Oh, it is him. The Rainbow Archives. Alright, that was kind of a weird turn.
Practices like Sayasat were used by everyone from warriors seeking battlefield protection to traders looking for prosperity charms.
The
It was an
hell?
accepted undercurrent of Thai culture, running parallel to official Buddhism. From within this hidden realm of magic came one of the region's most chilling practice, creating a kumantong. The concept revolved around the belief that the spirits of unborn or prematurely deceased children were uniquely powerful. These spirits are thought to exist in a liminal state, suspended between the human world and the world of ghosts. They were believed to possess intense energy,
Hell
both
no, that's
vulnerable
crazy.
and potent, and crucially able to grant favors to the living if properly appeased or bound. The idea was that these spirits, if treated kindly and fed offerings, would become protective allies who could bring wealth, luck, or even supernatural warnings of danger. But how do you actually create a kumantong? The grisly process of creating a kumantong was first immortalized in one of the most famous works of old Thai literature, Kun Chang Kun Pain. This legendary story was created sometime in the 1600s, and although this is just a folk story with no proper historical records, many people think it's based on real events that actually happened. 500 years ago, in the swirling mists of ancient Thailand, lived
500?
Kun Pain, a legendary warrior general celebrated not only for his skill in battle, but for his mastery of powerful, forbidden magic. His life was a storm of love, betrayal, culminating in heartbreak so deep it pushed him into the shadows of the darkest rituals. Kun Pain's lover, Nang Pim, was known as the most beautiful girl in all the lands. But Kun Pain grew suspicious of her for betrayal, and he killed her. Upon discovering that she
Jeez.
was pregnant with his child, grief twisted into desperate obsession. Convinced that an unborn child's spirit held immense supernatural power, Kun Pain turned to the occult art of Sayasat, the ancient Thai
wild.
science of sorcery. According to the epic, he removed the unborn fetus from Nang Pim's body.
Thai science of sorcery. I'm telling you, science and magic are not that far apart. Science came from alchemy and magic. I need to look into it, but I need to look into. Cause I heard Isaac Newton was into all that shit. Shit's crazy.
And carried it into a deserted cemetery cloaked in darkness. There, he built a sacred fire and roasted the tiny body until it became dry and mummified, before covering it in brilliant gold leaf, transforming it into a figure known as Kumantong, which translates to golden child. But the ritual didn't end there. Kun Pain chanted sacred mantras, summoning his son's spirit to inhabit the golden figure, binding it to his will. From that moment, Kumantong became his supernatural companion, capable of warning him of danger, spying on enemies, and even aiding him in
That's
battles
wild.
of war. Thus, the first recorded history of the Kumantong was
Oh, what
not
the fuck?
merely as an innocent doll, but as a haunted relic forged from grief, love, and black magic. A creation that would echo through centuries of Thai belief and leave a legacy still felt today in amulets, temples, and whispered tales of spirit guardians. Fast forward a few hundred years, Thailand became more modern, but the belief in Kumantong refused to die. Instead, it evolved. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Thai kings and Buddhist authorities cracked down on necromancy. Rituals involving human remains were outlawed.
That's crazy. Necromancy.
Creating a kumantong from a real fetus became illegal, rightfully so, and
I'm sure it was always frowned upon, magic, black magic especially, witches and all that stuff. But like, was it really an open thing? I know it still is popular in tribes, or like tribal countries and all that stuff, but I don't know.
deeply taboo. Although it still happens in the black market trade, these types of kumantong are not part of mainstream Buddhism in Thailand and is severely frowned upon in Thai society and religious authorities. Eventually, a new form of kumantong emerged, harmless statues or amulets. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of these kinds of different amulets, each for its own specific purpose. For example, attracting wealth, or finding love, or bolstering your real estate portfolio. Like, there are many purposes for all these kind of different amulets. Maybe I should even get one for boosting my YouTube subscriber count. Please subscribe. Nowadays, instead of using real human remains, craftsmen sculpted figures from clay, resin, or metal. Monks would then chant blessings over them, sometimes inscribing sacred symbols called yantra on their bodies. For many modern Thais, kumantong became less a ghostly companion and more of a supernatural helper, a protector, or a bringer of luck. Shopkeepers would place them near cash registers. Taxi drivers would keep them on their dashboards.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool.